Hello, vlog people. During this war that we've been in, someone came to my attention who is a brilliant photographer, among many other things. He also donated his photographs to the War on War contest, and if you've seen those, you've seen a lot of his work. He is young, he is inventive, he is creative, he comes from an extraordinarily interesting background, and he has a purpose in this world. And he also happens to be in my dining room. This is Jayel Aheram. Hello, welcome to my dining room.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm fine.
You're 24.
I'm 24 years old. Yes.
And where did you grow up?
That's a very hard question to answer for me, because I was born in Alaska, and then we moved to Michigan, and then I lived 8 or so years in the Philippines, and then we moved to San Diego.
Do I smell Army brat?
Navy brat, actually.
Navy brat.
I was a Navy brat. And then we moved to Hawaii, and then I ended up in Tokyo.
Wow.
So.
And how long? And you've never lived in the United States?
Oh, I have San Diego.
Okay.
San Diego, and Michigan, and Alaska. But most of my life I had a very international upbringing.
Sounds like it. And so your father is in the Navy?
Yes, he is. Well, my dad and then my stepdad.
Both of them?
Yes.
Wow. Okay. And how did you... First of all, I have to read this. When someone asked you what you do, and you couldn't, you had to create a new word for it.
Yes.
Which was?
Creativist.
A creativist.
I'm a creativist, yes.
A creativist, because he says here, I'm a drawer, I'm a photographer, a painter, a sketcher, a chatter, a blogger, a philosopher, a coder, a gamer, a linguist, a helper, a traveler, a volunteer, an advocate, a warrior, a killer, a leader, a lover, a brother, a poet, a son, a friend, a best friend, a man of the world. You do many things, and you had to call it a creativist.
Yes.
I like that.
It comes from the word creativity, and that's my primary occupation. I create. I do things that are creative. I make tangible stuff from my imagination. And
poetry?
Poetry, for example. I'm not an expert, but sometimes
you express yourself.
I express myself in so many different ways.
The thing that people have taken notice to, mostly, of course, is your photography. Yes. Because you have served how many tours? I served one tour in Iraq, and I've been to 2 deployments. One in Iraq and one with the 31st MU. We were in Thailand and Japan, Philippines, and outside of Burma. Okay. The photographs that you've taken, and primarily in Iraq, have gained some attention because I think they give a real personal face to this war, to these young men and women. Were you already doing photography when you started? Yes, I took up photography in 2005, a year prior to my joining the service, and I needed to do something. I woke up one morning and I needed to do something creative, and I was gonna go with painting, but I'm like, that's gonna be messy. You have to schlep all that stuff around. So, exactly, and I was like, you know what? I think I'll get more utility out of a digital camera, and I played around with my stepdad's camera, and it was kind of cool, and so I did some did the touristy things with the camera, and then next thing I know, I was in MCRD San Diego going through boot camp, and then 6 months later I was in Iraq. So wow. And my camera, my photography was my sole creative outlet out there. It is very stressful. I should think. It was how I was able to be myself. It gave you some sense of grounding. Exactly. And it's kind of weird. It's not weird, but a lot of people expect that my photography, for example, some sort of like journalism. No, I'm not trying to be a journalist. All I'm doing is expressing myself and showing my family and friends that there's still beauty out there, and that they shouldn't worry about me. That I'm okay. Interesting. Here's what I'm going through. And they're positive memories. Is it your way? I'm sure that you saw some things that weren't so pretty. You're talking about finding things that were beautiful. I'm sure you've seen some things that weren't so pretty. No. Some difficult times, some horrific images. All right, I want to go back a little bit to your childhood. You had an interesting childhood.
Very interesting. I grew up in the Philippines, raised by my godmother and my aunt. My mom was in the United States, and so was my stepdad. And I was me and my sister went to this Catholic school, and I remember always questioning authority.
Ooh, Catholic school, that can be a little rough.
It is. In fact, I was banned from the library because I was reading too much.
Actually, banned from the library?
I was in school because I was reading too much.
How could everybody ever say a kid is reading too much?
I guess I did. And I was,
okay. And I saw something about you were like outside in the rain during class singing the top of your lungs and you got punished for that? Is that
oh, yes. Yes.
They wanted to reel you in all the time.
Yes, I was very free-spirited. I was always doing some. I won't do my homework, for example, because it bored me. And but do your homework.
But do your homework.
And it's just something that it was just me. My mom always says that I'm so much like her because she does the same thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
A free spirit.
Yeah,
and many creativists are. Many people who express themselves through art and all the different kinds of art are that we can't. It's hard sometimes for us to sit down and do that kind of a task. That had to be. If your mom understood that about you, then she probably not necessarily encouraged the behavior, but she probably saw a light in you. And did she encourage you to? And your aunt and your godmother, did they encourage you to pursue art and creative things?
Well, they didn't really push me to do anything. They just allowed me to be myself, basically.
Okay, if you were such a free spirit, how does a person like that end up in the military where you have to follow rules all the time?
Yes, a funny story about that, actually. When I told my mom the first time I was going to join the Marine Corps, she laughed at me. Because it was something...
She knew, it was like, no way!
No way! Because it was something, like... She didn't see me as being that, and in fact, many of my classmates were skeptical or are surprised. Like, I didn't think you were gonna do that. And
what made you choose that?
Well, my family. I come from a military family. There was no question I was gonna join the military somehow to do my.
There was no question that was expected of you.
No, I just expected it in myself. I love my country, and I want somehow to, and I saw it as my obligation. And I was gonna go to Naval Academy, but that's like 10 years. It was like 4 years in Naval Academy, then 6 years obligation. And I'm like, nah, it's got too long. So I'm just gonna go to Marine Corps. Plus, their uniform looks cool.
Plus, their uniform looks cool. What about the part about following orders and doing what you're told and being completely a part of a team when you're sort of this free-spirited person who has their own ideas? How did that work? Or does that give you... How do you learn to do both, I guess is what I'm saying.
It reminds me of Ralph Waldo Emerson's... he wrote this essay a long time ago, like 150 years ago or so, called Self-Reliance. And one of the quotes is it is easy in the world to live after the world's opinion. It is easy in solitude to live after our own, but a great man is he who in the midst of the crowd keeps with perfect sweetness the independence of solitude. And to me that means that even though I'm in a group that demands conformity, I could still be myself, because that's the challenge, is that putting myself in an environment, because it is easy to be yourself if you're alone.
On a scale of 1 to 10, in your experience in Iraq, of like horrific experiences, where would you put your experience?
Not that bad, actually. No one in our unit died, though the unit a lot of the so we're lucky. We're extremely lucky. It was really hard work, very tense. Even though it's like suffocating boredom, you're in that you always need to be ready. And for example, mortars. We kept getting mortars and RPG attacks, for example. And it's scary. It's but at the same time, it's like
you numb yourself to it after a
while. After a while, I don't want to say complacent, but you get used to it.
Isn't it amazing what human beings can become?
Yeah, they're very. I mean, Iraqis live there, so
that's true.
Iraqi children live there. If they can live in that country during that war for 4 straight years.
Sure. So, how did you feel? What was your experience with the Iraqi people?
They're optimistic, I think. I mean, they have such a ancient culture, and their country has been through so many things, and I think they're just they're just used to it.
Isn't that sad?
Yeah.
They're just used to it.
I guess.
No, seriously. I mean, we were talking about sort of the way we can numb ourselves to get used to something, and this is a culture that has been through so much, generations and generations. They don't know when they haven't. A lot of time. You offered us your photographs for War on War contest and for the song. Obviously, War on War is an anti-war song.
Yes.
And it was an anti-administration song. What did you do in your mind and your heart to justify allowing us to use your photographs for a song that was basically saying, let's get out?
Because my photographs, while I took them, they're also the world's. They're part of history. They're of historical note. I don't think there's quite anything like it. And I don't feel that, or regardless of how what my political leanings are, it's the American people, so to do what they wish with it. Whether or not they agree with the president or the president-elect, for example, it doesn't really matter to me because I'm serving the American people.
Right.
I mean, if they want to use it one way or another, that's there to do what they want. That's.
Did you feel that the
and I support creativity. If they want to do something creative with it,
But if it's something awesome. If it's something you are completely opposed to, then I'm not sure that you would necessarily say, "Oh, use it. It belongs to the world." Would you? Does it matter?
It doesn't matter. Actually, I have a very good example for that. I'm a supporter of Ron Paul, for example, and The Atlantic. It's a blog. Use a photograph of me, a very positive photograph of me shaking Ron Paul's hand, in a article attacking him and his supporters. And wow, it's like they're using
something that you meant for a positive thing.
Yeah. And something such a very negative, but I'm like, but sometimes like, what? That doesn't matter,
Among the troops, certainly I know I was talking to other people that there's a great deal of confusion about the purpose and the support, because it's not necessarily that the American people necessarily wanted this. It has been a very, very difficult thing in American history, and very confusing, and I would think that when you're putting yourself in harm's way and your life at risk, that, at the very least you want to know that this is a unanimous decision, everybody's behind me, and they are behind you. I don't think there was ever a question about that from anyone who was anti-war. No one was. You can't be anti-truth. That really bothered me a lot.
You can't really be pro-war either. You can't really be pro-war.
No one wants war. Well, but some people, it depends on what they perceive as at stake. There's a lot going on now politically. We're in this major shift in this country, in which people are trying to figure out what's going on, or this huge economy drama and everything. It's very scary, and yet I feel like there's great hope. And there's great optimism.
There's always hope. There's
always hope. But don't you feel like that perhaps we've been given permission to hope again? We've been given permission to dream, and we don't have to be told to be cynical anymore. Do you find that there's a change happening with that in the military and in your environment? It's been scary.
It's been scary, and while I'm a Ron Paul supporter, because I like Obama, and then I heard Ron Paul, and I thought Ron Paul was cooler, but Obama's pretty cool, and President like Obama, and he's gonna be my commander-in-chief, so and I think it's yeah, I think so. I'm a big fan of hope, and the fact that people can feel that not be cynical anymore regarding the whole political process. I mean, it just look at the world. I mean, the fact that even the world felt hope. That's a good thing.
Absolutely. What do you want? Okay, let's say you finish this next tour, which is in this next deployment, and a year from now you're out of the military.
Yes.
What do you want? What's next?
I'm thinking of going to Chicago and going to school there, going to college. I'm kind of iffy right now in the whole, should I go learn economics or photojournalism or just
economics or photojournalism? These are your two choices.
Or photography or art. I mean, it's
economics or photography, economics or art. So explain that.
Well, I'm a fan of economics. It's something that I'm interested in, and it's kind of geeky, but
not at all. I mean,
copyright and intellectual property.
Okay.
The whole concept and all that stuff, and I'm just interested in it.
Do you feel like you can express yourself through economics?
Well, probably. Yeah,
probably.
I'll make it happen.
I bet
I'll
you
make
will.
it happen.
Which do you perceive? And is it difficult for you to say what is your primary means of expression? Certainly, people are knowing from your photography. But you're a painter. You draw. You're a poet. You write. You
writing. I write a lot, and that's the thing about my.
You're a good writer.
Thank you. That's the thing about my photography is that there, especially for example in Flickr, I publish all my photography in Flickr, that it comes with a text that tells the whole story of what's going on. I think the images, the images are just half of the whole story.
But don't you find that art and photography, the beauty of them is also that you can create your own story?
Yes, exactly.
And
people can
I can look at a face and I can personalize it. I can decide what that story is. I can make up a whole scenario in my head and my imagination around that. And you're a real example of what it's like to have family support, and it sounds like it's mom and dad and stepdad and aunt and godmother and this whole group of people who were saying go.
Yes. For example, my mom, she wasn't living in the Philippines.
What is your genealogy? You're made up of what? You're
mixed. My mom, she's like Spanish and Asian, and my dad, he's from Indiana. He's like German, but there's a little bit of Indian somewhere.
So like everybody else, you're a mutt.
Exactly.
We're all mutts.
Exactly, and then my cousins are black too.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, and then we all hang out together. And it's like
America. Looks
exactly.
like America.
Exactly.
Looks like America. The America I want.
A funny story about that actually. Since I lived all over the place, and people will deny that I'm American. For example.
Why?
Because I don't
lived out of the country.
Because I don't look like one or sound like one. It happened. I think it was last year. Someone told me why do you even care about the Constitution or about this election? You're not even American. And I was like, say that again, I will punch you in the face. And it was like, everyone's like, and he said it again. You're not
Did you
American.
punch him in the face?
And I punched him in the face.
Hey, sometimes it's time for that.
Yes, it is. I'm like,
dude, I've been to Iraq. Don't tell me that I'm not,
Or the fact that I lived all over the place because my family's a military family.
Right.
I had no choice. We had to live in these countries.
You're this free spirit. You're artistic in all these ways. Do you ever want to settle down? Do you want to have a family? Do you want children? Not for a while.
Not for a while.
You're 24.
I'm 24, and I still have plenty of things to do. I want to go back to college.
Okay.
I only took 6 classes while I was in Tokyo, and it was in the Marine Corps, and I'm definitely gonna milk the new GI Bill.
Absolutely.
So, thank you, international veterans of Iraq and Afghanistan. By the way, that was awesome.
I think you're fantastic.
Thank you.
And
I think you're awesome too.
Thank you very much. I am
cool.
proud to be a fellow American with you.
Right.
And all the things that you want to do and that you stand for, and that at this age that you have found a way to express yourself, to find. I love when you say I'm a fan of hope. That makes me. It's such a simple thing to say, but that's what your photos are. That's what your writing is. although your writing does have your writing has its criticism and has a philosophy, and you know, you don't agree necessarily. I read a thing that you wrote about leadership through intimidation is not a successful way to do it.
No, it's not.
And meanwhile, you're in the military. That's the way leadership is often taught. Is
sometimes
by bullying.
Sometimes.
And it's the way we know it. The way civilians know it.
Yeah,
is, you know, somebody get in your face and scream at you.
And I have my concept of what leadership is supposed to be, and next month I'm going to get promoted. So
you are? What will you be?
I'll be a corporal next month.
You will? Congratulations.
And, thank you. And I'm gonna be able to step up and lead the way I think it ought to be.
How would you lead?
How would I lead? By example, for example.
Mm-hmm.
I will lead by example. I will lead through consistency, encouragement, and I'm not gonna cuddle, my fellow Marines. I won't do that. But at the same time, I'll be realistic. I will allow them to actually make mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
Oftentimes there's a tendency to bring the hammer down on some of a mistake brought about by just pure ignorance.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you can't punish ignorance.
Okay.
You
just educate them.
Yeah, educate so that they don't educate them so they don't repeat it.
Right.
That's all you can.
And
do.
then if they repeat it after they're educated,
and then you bring the hammer down. Like don't call me not American.
Well, exactly. Sometimes you have to punch somebody in the face.
Sometimes.
Right?
Exactly.
Well, it is an honor to talk to you.
It's an honor to be here.
I'm thrilled for what you stand for and what you do and the way you express yourself. You have a keen artistic eye.
Thank you.
And I love what I've read that you've written, and keep expressing and keep putting it out there. You're going to find conflict, you're going to find criticism, you're going to find people who don't like or don't agree. And that's their business, it's not yours.
Yes.
And the fact that you've done these from a war that's been in question, and the way you express yourself, I just think you got I can't speak. I just think you've got a lot of guts, and a lot of integrity, and a lot of fortitude. And you're the kind of guy that I want out there, A, defending me, and B, expressing from a human and sensitive point of view your experience.
Thank you.
I mean, it's great. Thank you so much.
Definitely.
Say goodbye, vlog people.
Bye, vlog people.
See ya.